Hello, everyone. Today, I want to address an important question that many of you have been curious about. Sometimes I receive questions like, are there any original manuscripts of the Bible? Where are they? And how can we believe in copies when we don't even have the originals? When I receive such questions, I sometimes feel perplexed and sorry because not a single page of the original biblical manuscripts is preserved today. However, the absence of originals doesn't mean we should lose trust in the Bible or abandon our faith. Through today's discussion, we'll explore why we can fully trust the Bible based on copies alone and how God has miraculously preserved Scripture for us. Why no originals exist. First, we need to understand why the originals no longer exist. Take the Pentateuch as an example. If Moses wrote it, we're talking about documents that are approximately 3,400 years old. In ancient times, the Bible was written on two main materials. Papyrus was made by splitting and pressing reeds into thin sheets, but it had very poor preservation qualities. Parchment was made from sheep or goat skin. It was complex to produce and expensive, while parchment, being made of collagen protein, lasted longer than papyrus. Preserving it for over 3,000 years was virtually impossible. So the originals naturally disappeared before their true significance was properly recognized. However, the fact that we have well-preserved biblical manuscripts today is truly God's great grace. The meticulous work of ancient scribes. How were the copies made? Ancient scribes devoted incredible care to their work. In an era without good writing instruments or printing technology, professional scribes copied every single letter by hand. From the 4th to 9th centuries, biblical manuscripts were written in uncial script, all capital letters, without spaces, with each letter written independently and spaced precisely in rows and columns. To ensure not a single letter was missed, scribes counted the letters in the original as they worked. After completion, they verified that the first and last letters matched, and that the horizontal and vertical letter counts were accurate. Thanks to this extraordinary dedication and care, accurate copies free from corruption or damage were passed down to us. The power of multiple manuscripts. While a single copy might raise doubts about reliability, having multiple copies changes everything completely. There are currently over 5,000 New Testament manuscripts. By comparing these with each other, even if one or two letters were incorrect, we can easily determine through context what letters were omitted or added. Through this textual criticism work, we can confidently say that our current Bible is virtually flawless in meaning. This is an established fact, confirmed through the painstaking research of countless scholars. The Dead Sea Scrolls discovery. In 1947, there was an amazing discovery in the Qumran region of Israel. A shepherd boy searching for a lost sheep accidentally threw a stone into a cave and heard a clang sound. Inside, he found ancient documents preserved in jars as scrolls. These became the famous Dead Sea Scrolls. This region receives only 500 mil of annual rainfall, making it extremely dry. Even when it rained, it was during winter when bacterial activity was limited. Summer brought no rain at all, preventing bacterial activity. In these optimal preservation conditions, biblical texts were perfectly preserved for over 2,000 years. The book of Isaiah, in particular, matched almost perfectly with our current Bible. This gave us confidence that our Bible hasn't been corrupted and is virtually complete. Tischendorf's remarkable discovery. In 1844, a young German theologian named Konstantin Tischendorf visited St. Catherine's Monastery on Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. He had traveled all that way on foot and by ship from Germany, searching for ancient biblical manuscripts. One cold evening, as he was warming himself by a fire, he noticed familiar Greek lettering in a bundle of papers being used as kindling. Tischendorf was startled and spent the entire night reading those papers. They were New Testament manuscripts. He said, to sleep in front of such documents would be blasphemy against Scripture, and spent the night reading and studying. The Codex Sinaiticus, discovered this way, contained all 27 books of the New Testament completely preserved, plus the Greek translation of the Old Testament called the Septuagint. This manuscript was created in the 4th century, coinciding with the period right after the 27 New Testament books were confirmed as canon at the Second Council of Carthage in 397 AD. The Codex Sinaiticus was made on parchment, measuring approximately 38 by 34 centimeters. What's remarkable is that the script is very consistent and precise. Scholarly research confirmed that 3 scribes divided the work, and from the 4th to 12th centuries, 9 correctors carefully reviewed it, fixing incorrect spellings and filling in missing parts. The translation challenge. While the original language texts are well preserved, translation presents challenges. No matter how accurate the original text, errors can occur during translation. Therefore, when reading the Bible, it's good to compare multiple translations and examine the original language meanings when possible. Conclusion: God's faithful preservation. Dear friends, the absence of biblical originals absolutely doesn't mean we cannot trust the Bible. Rather, God has preserved Scripture in amazing ways. Through the meticulous copying work of ancient scribes, preservation in optimal natural environments, and the efforts of dedicated scholars like Tischendorf, we can hold reliable scriptures in our hands today. When liberal theology was prevalent in 18th and 19th century Germany, questioning biblical authority, Tischendorf embarked on that difficult journey with the faith that, somewhere, God must have preserved Scripture intact through his almighty power. And truly, God answered his faith. I encourage you to research the Codex Sinaiticus and Dead Sea Scrolls for yourselves. You can find related materials on the Bible Society website as well. When you learn about these amazing discoveries, you can't help but marvel at how God has preserved his word for us. Though they are copies, the scriptures we have maintained virtually the same accuracy as the originals. Please read and believe the Bible with complete trust, without any doubt. This is truly grace among graces from God. That concludes today's discussion. I'll see you again next time. May God's grace be with you.